Rise Up and Run. Stories of deliverance and transformation through the power of Jesus Christ that allows people to rise up from bondage and run in freedom. I'm your host, Janice. Hey, I want to welcome you all back to Rise Up and Run, and I think you're going to love today's guest. I know I do. My guest is Cindy Harris, and obviously, maybe not obviously, but like most of my guests, I met her at Hope City. And everyone at Hope City on High Street calls her Grandma Cindy. And I was just telling her, I don't know her story, but I know of her story. Cindy has been fighting cancer for 25 years this month. 25 years.
It's a long time.
It is a long time. So Cindy, say hey. And
hi, I'm here.
Finally. I've been trying to get you on here for a while, haven't I?
Yeah, I got that flu.
Oh, well, okay. You get a pass then.
Get a pass.
Get a pass. So catch us up to speed. Like, who is Cindy Harris? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm retired, of course, at this age.
She's 78, you guys.
Yeah, she's old. Really old.
You're...
And I've got two daughters, 4 grandkids, and almost 4 great-grandkids. Actually 3, but another one on the way.
Is that Taylor?
Yeah.
Are they expecting?
Yes.
Oh,
yep.
That's wonderful.
They're having another little boy.
Okay.
So that's what I spend my time doing most of, is playing with great-grandkids.
Did you grow up around here?
I did not. My parents are both from Waterloo, but my dad was an electrician, and he always wanted to buy a farm, and my dad wouldn't buy anything he couldn't pay cash for.
Mm-hmm.
So he followed construction jobs so that he would always be working overtime, could save enough money to come back to Iowa and buy a farm. So I grew up all over the place.
Okay.
And I loved it. It was, people always say, wasn't that hard because you moved a lot? And for me it was easy because I loved meeting the new people and the new schools and the new places, and I thought it was exciting.
Well, that's great. That worked out good for you.
It did.
What was your childhood like, as far as, like, were you raised in a Christian home?
I was very blessed as a child. My parents did not go to church. They met in church, but after they got married, they didn't go to church anymore. So, but my grandma took me to church all the time with her.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma had kids my age. My grandpa and grandma had almost like three separate families. They had my mom and her sister, and then they had 3 daughters, which were the youngest of their 3 daughters is only 2 years older than I am. And then I had 2 uncles younger than I am.
Oh.
So Grandma just threw me in the middle of all the mess and took me to church.
Oh,
so I grew up going to church with my grandma.
What an impact grandparents can have on their kids.
They do.
Or grandkids.
They do. Grandparents have to really think about that. They're important.
Yeah. So what else do we need to know about you?
Well,
growing up, I
grew up very privileged.
Okay.
I was very lucky. I was very privileged. And I had a very loving family. I had a brother and a sister, both younger. And we just had a very loving family. We did everything we did together. You know, it was just a very loving, happy family. I had a great childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very pleased. I had a very great childhood. And I hope to help continue with my great-grandkids having a great childhood.
Yeah.
Because my grandkids did, and so did my kids had a pretty good childhood.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And you're super involved with your grandkids and great-grandkids. So
yeah.
I don't think you'll ever know the impact of that, on this side of heaven. Right?
Yeah, I don't think you do.
Yeah.
Because my grandma, my dad's mother, it was my mom's mother that took me to church all the time. My dad's mother died when I was really, really young. She died of breast cancer. And she was the kind of grandma you have in a storybook.
Mm-hmm.
And I always said, for all my life, I've said, I'm going to be that kind of grandma.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I work at, is being that kind of grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Because you remember that, and it does impact your life.
Yeah,
It really
sure does.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go from here? I mean, do we have any addictions we need to talk about? That's what most of my guests have going on. Shopping, retail therapy. Cindy.
Yes, I need that. It's terrible. It's terrible. It really is. I love to buy clothes for my great grandkids.
Oh, for your great grand. Well, that's
all those clothes are so cute.
I know, especially the girl clothes.
Yes. Yeah. That is an addiction, and it is an addiction.
Okay, so
and
do we need to send
I drink
you
a ton of
treatment?
iced tea.
Oh,
yes.
do you? Okay.
Okay. Iced tea and shopping. Together, even.
That's a safe thing.
It's true.
Those are safe addictions, I suppose.
And at this point, probably I'm addicted to chemo.
Oh, let's talk about that. So, what did you do for a career?
I worked in an office. Most of the time, I worked in a one-person office, so you did everything. I mean, accounts receivables, payables, HR, insurance, everything. So that's what I usually did, work in a small office.
So you're still working 25 years ago?
Oh, yes.
When you first got diagnosed?
Yep.
And then you mentioned your grandma had breast cancer. Anybody else in your family?
My dad and his brother both died of pancreatic cancer.
Oh.
And if you kind of check, pancreatic cancer and breast cancer can be in families.
Okay. Yeah.
Genetically, I tested that it was not genetic, but there are some genes that they don't really know what they are yet.
Okay.
And I do have a couple of those that they think are maybe suspicious. They don't know for sure.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's genetic or not, but it's a little. And my cousin also had breast cancer, and it's her dad that died of pancreatic cancer like my dad did. So it's a little suspicious not to be genetic, but it maybe isn't. I don't know.
So if my math serves me correctly, you were diagnosed at 53, and it started as breast cancer? Okay. Tell me about all that stuff. Like, how'd you find it?
In the shower, I thought, wow, that's a sore spot. And then when I started feeling it, I thought, ooh, that doesn't feel right. And it, trying to think, it must have been on the weekend because I had to wait a couple of days to call the doctor.
That's a sick feeling.
Yeah. So I called and I went in for an examination, and she did a mammogram. And I was sitting at work, and the phone rang, and I answered it, and she said, "Hi, Cindy. This is," I don't know if I can say her name.
You could say her first name, maybe, or not.
Well, anyway, she called me, and she said, "You need to go see a surgeon because your mammogram doesn't look good. I think you have cancer." And I'm sitting at my desk at work, and I thought, this is not an opportune time for me to talk about this.
Because it shocks the crap out of you.
It does.
I know when I was waiting for my phone call, I was kind of expecting a phone call, and it just kind of stops your world there for a little bit.
It does. It does.
So then what kind of treatment did you have to have that first time?
I went in and had a mastectomy, a right side mastectomy. And then I wasn't going to do any treatment. I thought, I don't want to do all that stuff. But my two daughters said, "Oh, come on, Mom. Just, why don't you do that? Because if it would come back, then you'd go, why didn't I?"
Yeah.
I said, okay. So I went through the 3 mixture treatment that really makes you sick. The one they call the Red Devil.
Okay, see, I don't know about that.
Oh, that's right. You didn't have those, did you?
No, I just had radiation.
Okay. Yeah, this one, they don't want it to touch your skin because it will. So when they started the other 2 were just regular chemo, but that red one, they call it the Red Devil. They said, we don't want it to touch your skin. You have to have a port. And I said, well, if it can't touch my skin, what is it doing inside of me? And she said, don't think about that. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. And she's standing there with this, looks like a great big huge syringe full of what looks like red Kool-Aid. And she said, don't think about it. And I said, wait. Answer something for me. What's it going to do to like my veins and all my other insides? And she said, don't think about it. I thought, oh dear. So anyway, I went through with it.
What stage cancer did they
told me it was stage 2. is all it was.
Does that seem really radical for a stage 2? I don't know much about that, but
Well, see, like 25 years ago, that was pretty standard
Yeah.
treatment, you know. Probably wouldn't have been now.
yeah.
But they thought it was stage 2 because of the size of it. They
Right.
didn't realize that. And then, too, they didn't test your sentinel node. They hadn't done that yet. They just, when they had you opened up for the mastectomy, just took whatever lymph nodes they could find, test them, and that was, you know,
Were they good?
they were good.
Okay.
So evidently there was one they missed that wasn't good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it had metastasized and we didn't know it.
Oh, it had. Just to the lymph nodes?
Evidently, I think.
So then what happened? You did the chemo for how long?
It was only 4 treatments, I think. I think it was 4 treatments of that.
Yeah.
So you were sick, and it was every 3 weeks. So you were sick for a few months. And then...
Lost your hair.
Oh, yes.
Couldn't work.
Oh, no, I worked.
Oh, did you?
I did,
I'm
yeah.
not surprised at that. You're a tiger.
I did go to work, and about 3 weeks after the last treatment, Dr. Singh said, I think you can go back to work now if you want to.
Oh, and you said, oh,
I said, Dr. Singh, I haven't not worked. And he looked at me and he said, Cindy, I said, you told me not to go to work if I didn't feel like I could make it. Well, he said, I expected you to... Well, he said, I guess if you've been working, you might as well go back.
you keep going.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're off work for a few months. Were you in remission ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They thought, yeah, until 2011.
Okay, so we're back in, how's my
2000.
math? 2000.
It's when it started.
Okay, you did your chemo, you were off work.
No, I didn't get off.
No, you weren't off work.
Yeah,
you
I
could have
stayed
been.
working. I could have been, but I didn't.
So, few months, addressed it, dealt with it, and then you were good for 11
Until
years?
2011. Mm-hmm.
And then?
And then I went in for a yearly physical,
Yeah.
and the doctor said, have you felt this lump right here? Because it was exactly where the tumor was originally. I said, of course I have. It's scar tissue.
Oh, same side then where you...
Exact same spot. Mm-hmm. I said, it's scar tissue. And he said, well, I'm thinking it feels like possibly a new tumor.
Oh, no.
I said, no, it's not. It's scar tissue.
How long had you noticed it was there?
I hadn't even, well, I just hadn't thought about cancer. I just, when you take a shower, I just felt it, and it had been there for a long time. And I assumed it was scar tissue.
Were you in denial, do you think, a little bit? Or were you just hopeful and...
Well, I figured with a mastectomy, it couldn't be.
Well, right. They took it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, he said, Cindy, since I have the certificate on the wall and you don't, do you care if I do a biopsy? I said, oh, enjoy yourself.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah. And lo and behold, it was malignant, and it wasn't scar tissue. It was, so then we started over.
More chemo.
More chemo. So I've been on one kind of chemo or another since 2011 because it's very aggressive. When it comes back like that, it's pretty aggressive. And it had metastasized. It's in the same spot it was originally. It's in my some of my vertebrae, which that's supposed to be very, very painful, and I have no pain at all. It is, let me see, my sternum, one of my shoulder blades. Where else is it? In my hip. I think that's it. I don't know. It's just sticking mostly to the bone. But I will tell you, and now I'm going to cry when I tell you this.
Are there Kleenex over there? No?
No.
Okay, I'm throwing my box over to you, girl. Well, let me take one first because,
Okay. You might cry too.
Oh, I might?
Yeah. When the doctor told me that it was definitely cancer back, my brother was with me and Scott was with me, and my brother said, let's go out to eat, and I said no. At that time I was going to Prairie Lakes, and Pastor Jesse's office was in that Bank, Iowa, or Iowa Bank there on Kimball.
Okay.
And I said, no, I'm going over to Pastor Jesse to pray. So we left the doctor's office. We went over to Pastor Jesse's office and told him what was happening. And he said, no, not again. I said, it is. We need to pray big. Because at that time I didn't know it was any place except back in that breast or no breast or whatever it is.
The spot, yeah.
And so Pastor Jesse got down, he was beside me, and he was on one knee with his elbow on his desk, and Scott was on the other side of the desk.
Scott is Cindy's longtime significant other.
Yes.
Great man.
He was on his knee with his elbow on the desk. They both put one hand on my shoulder and Pastor Jesse started praying. And while he's praying, I felt one of them's hand on the middle of my back. I could feel the warmness. I felt the fingers, the palm of the hand, the the bottom of the hand, the thumb, all four fingers, the warmth of the hand. You could just feel it, the whole hand, right in the middle of my back. And I caught myself going, which one of them? Because the thumb was on the wrong side for either one of them. And I thought, who twisted their hand screwy to put it on my back? And then I said, Cindy, stop it. This is the devil trying to make you not listen to Pastor Jesse's prayer. Quit thinking about this. So when Pastor was done praying, I said, which one of you squinched your hand around on my back? Neither one of them had been touching my back. And when I had my PET scan, that's when I found out that exactly where that hand was at are the 3 vertebrae that have cancer on them.
Oh, my God.
That cancer has not grown since that day. And where it's at, if it touches the nerves that run up through those vertebrae, I will lose the use of my legs. Plus, when it's in your spine, it's supposedly extremely painful. And I don't have any pain, and I never have. So, I know whose hand was on my back and took care of the part that would incapacitate me. The rest of it, I can go on just fine. And I keep thinking, sometimes I get so tired of going for chemo after this many years, and I just get tired of it. One time it was a pill that I took at home, but you just get tired of it. But every time, and this is not an exaggeration, every time I go in for my chemo, there's somebody there that needs talked to. And I was on a little bit of a pity party one day, and I went, God, why do I have to keep doing this? You know as well as I do, you're taking care of this. So why? Why do I have to keep doing this? I was on my way to chemo. I get in there and I sit down in my chair and I hear they pull a curtain between you. And I hear a lady over there crying. And the nurse was with her and she said, it's gonna be okay. And she said, I'm so scared I'm gonna lose my hair and I don't know what's gonna happen and I'm so scared. And then I realized, God, every single time, there's somebody that just needs a touch, a word, a hug, something. He puts me there. And so I know why this is happening. And I was with Reach to Recovery for years. And, they give you people that you're supposed to call and help walk through breast cancer. And one of their rules is do not talk about religion.
How can you not?
So, as you're talking to these ladies, inevitably they'd say, how do you handle it like this? What am I supposed to tell them? They opened the door, right?
Well, yeah.
And
I mean,
so-
they asked you.
And you're supposed to answer them with complete honesty. This is one thing you have to do. So then I've ended out talking, having some start coming to church, some just, he just puts me in these places.
He does. And when I got diagnosed with cancer, I didn't know Cindy. And she like hunted me down. You did? Because I remember you messaged me on Facebook. And, you know, I think when you're first diagnosed, you're just like, I just kind of want to be in my little bubble. You know, I don't know what's happening. And you were like, call me. And I said, you know what? I think I'm really good. I think I have friends that I know, blah, blah, blah. And then you were relentless. And all of a sudden the phone rings and it was you. And I remember saying, how did you get my number? I even checked you out. I was like, Vicky? You know Vicky?
Yeah.
I said, do you know Cindy Harris? And she goes, well, yeah. I said, what is she like? And she goes, oh, she's wonderful. And, you know, you were just all about, you know, you're going to go through radiation. You might feel like this or like that. And you said, you call me anytime, day or night. If you can't sleep, if you're up worrying, you know, that just meant so much to me that a stranger would reach out like that. That doesn't happen.
I've had a lot of different women call me at 2 and 3 in the morning because chemo is very, very known for you're dead tired, but you can't sleep. And so I've had a lot of women call me at 2 or 3 in the morning and say, are you sure you can talk? Yeah, go ahead. Just chat away.
You know, and you touched on it a minute ago, is that that's why we go through this. So we can comfort those the way that we've been comforted.
Just 2 weeks ago, when I went in for my original oncologist, who was my oncologist for 24 years, retired.
Who is that?
Dr. Singh.
Okay.
Love the man. So he sent me to a doctor in Iowa City, and I was down there, and I got in the room for your blood draw, because you know you have to have a blood draw before you can have chemo, because if your blood counts are too low, you can't have chemo. So the girl, I was there in Iowa City, and I was there at 7:00 in the morning, and the girl opened the door and she said, Cindy. So I just started walking there, and she said, I had a rough day yesterday and a really rough morning, and when I saw you on my list, I was so happy. So I knew you'd cheer me up, and I thought, okay, God. I was...
Hello, I'm here for cancer treatment? You're supposed to cheer me up.
And then as I was walking out, a lady sitting in one of the chairs said, my sister just went in there, and we were listening to you talk to the lady that checks you in, and we can't believe how your attitude while you're in here. And I said, have you heard that song, Let Me Tell You About My Jesus?
Yeah.
I said, it's fine. I said, just give it to God. It's okay.
Yeah, because ultimately we have zero control over anything. You know, you do what the doctor says, and then the rest is up to what God wants to do with us. So since 2011, has it just never, you haven't had any more times of remission?
Well, when it came back, it was so aggressive that if I don't have some type of treatment, it will continue to spread.
So for 14 years, you've been doing chemo? How often?
It depends on the kind of chemo. Breast cancer will learn to grow even with chemo. After you've had a certain kind of chemo for so long, breast cancer will go, aha, I know how to grow besides this.
Good grief.
So then you have to change treatments so that you can stop it again. That's how come it has ended out in some other places, is because you don't know yet. You know, you don't know when this is happening. And then pretty soon they say, here we go. And then before I started the chemo I'm on now, the chemo I was taking ended out attacking all my muscles. And I almost couldn't walk for a while. I mean, it was... So then and I started getting sick. And I don't get sick with chemo anymore. The kind, you know, they've improved them. I guess that's what you'd call it. So I don't get sick. But so then we had to change again.
I feel like whenever I see you at church, you always have such a beautiful countenance, such a peace and a joy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have awful days, but you could never see it when you're at church. You just are joyful. And
I feel joyful because I
Okay.
have such total trust in God. A lot of people, they can tell you they believe in God, and this is true, and they do. Or people will say, oh, I have such faith in God. But you need to take one step farther and learn to trust Him. And the only way you can trust Him is to understand how much He loves you. Because we think of how much we love our kids. We would do anything for our kids. And that's not even a tiny bit of how much He loves us. And He didn't give you cancer. That's our environment. That's a whole nother story.
yes. Hold on, isn't it?
And so that comes through our environment, not from Him. And that's what I tell people, never say my cancer. It's not yours. God did not give it to you. It is not yours. Do not own it, ever.
You
ever.
commented on that on one of my posts. I was like, what?
Yes, do not claim it. It's not yours. But He will use it, use you with it. And He is so, this sounds ridiculous, but I don't worry about cancer. I have a doctor and I have God. Between the two of them, they can worry their heads off. I don't care. Because I'm not going to worry about, I don't worry about anything. Anything comes up that's upsetting or bothering, I pray about it and go, you got that, God? Pff, it's on you now. And just let it go. Because you can totally trust Him, but you can't trust Him totally till you stop and realize how much He loves you. He will do nothing to hurt you. He will do nothing to, you can't do anything to make Him give up on you. He loves you so much. So you can trust Him totally. Eventually, we're all going to get to go home. Eventually. So some people live longer than others when they're diagnosed with cancer. But that has nothing to do with their faithfulness. It's just, that's just, nobody knows when their time is. But you just have to trust Him, and don't even think about cancer. You've got a life to live. You've got people to love. I mean, you walk outside and look at trees, flowers, sky, everything He has given us. There's nothing to worry about. Just anything that happens, you just give it to God. But you have to learn to trust Him. Total trust. And that's a very, very, very peaceful feeling.
Do you ever have those days where you think, why me? Am I going to die from this? Like, why couldn't I just have had a life that was quote unquote normal and I didn't have to? 25 years.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
But look what He's done in that 25 years.
Look what He's done.
Plus, a lot of the stuff, the tests and stuff they do, they can use to develop different things. And I have had very, very few, but a couple. Well, I had to have radiation because it went to my brain. And I had to have 27 minutes of radiation. And when they do it to your brain, they make this plastic mask that is heated and fitted to your face. And then they bolt you to the table. And and you can't even open your eyes, nothing, because it is such a tight mask. And then they literally bring in a drill and bolt your head to the table.
Well, with the mask.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, you can't, there's no movement. And I'm thinking, okay, I have 27 minutes of knowing I am bolted down. God, we got to do this together. And I thought, okay, because I always have them play Christian music through the earphones for me. So I thought, okay, about 3 minutes a song, for 27 minutes.
I do that too.
And so I started counting the songs as they were going through, and I got down, only going to have about 3 left. And I thought, I wonder if they turned the radiation off because there's a nurse holding my hand. They hadn't turned it off, and of course the nurse can't come in there. And my hand was being held for those last 3 songs.
But not by anybody.
Not by anybody, no, by him.
Oh, Cindy.
I know.
Wow.
And then one time I had to have a scan, and it happened to be on Good Friday. And I was laying in that table listening to my music, and I went, God, this is Good Friday. I've got family and friends at home doing stuff, and I'm laying here on a table again. And as clear as day, I hear, well, what did I do for you on Good Friday?
Ooh.
Sorry, I'll do this.
Wow. He, in Psalms, he talks about being close to the brokenhearted and crushed in spirit. He's so close. Those days that you can just feel him right there.
Yeah.
Holding your hand.
Touching your back.
Yeah.
And seriously, that, even Dr. Singh has said, that has not changed, that place in your back. And I said, it probably never will.
Wow.
Because, and your vertebrae are kind of oval. They're not really round. And the nerves all run up kind of the one rounded side of it. The cancer is on the other side of the oval. And it just doesn't touch the nerves.
Wow.
And it hasn't grown around them. Nothing. Nothing. Even the part that's in my sternum, my hip, everybody says, oh, bone cancer is painful.
Wow.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't have... I have a sciatic nerve that gives me a problem. But I have no pain with any place where the cancer is in my bones. It's just...
Oh, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? I was just going to ask you, are there any songs that just set you free, that are just dear to you?
Oh, so many. What's that one show? There's an old church choir singing in my soul that I love.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm trying to think now. What are some others that just...
Well, we can come back to that, too. I know I
Just-
should have told you what questions I was going to ask you, but honestly, I just kind of wing it, as people can probably tell. How about verses? Any verses that really have spoken to you through the years?
The verse that's hanging all over my house, and it's "Be Still and Know."
Mm.
That song, and that has been one for years. The day my dad died, he died at home, and we were out on the farm. It was January, and so all that's around are sparrows, but they were all under the awning, because it was cold and snowy. So that morning you heard those go. When my dad raised ostriches, you could hear them up there at the front. There were some cattle up by the water trough and bumping it and making, just the noises
Farm noises.
of out there.
Mm-hmm.
And as we heard my dad let out that last breath, it was totally still. There wasn't a sound. And my brother looked at me and he said, why is it so quiet all of a sudden? And I started crying, and I said, because in my mind I was going, God, did my dad come to heaven? And I just heard that, be still and know. And so I don't worry about my dad, because he didn't go to church. He said his church was his walk on Sunday mornings by himself down by the creek. And but that verse is just, and that's when I really realized how much God loved me too. My dad was a very doting father, very doting. He You could fall flat on your face and he was right there to pick you up. You could ask him for advice and he would give it to you. He didn't give it to you if you didn't ask. However, if you screwed up, he's going to say, well, you know, if you...
If you would have asked me.
Yeah. But I knew I could depend on my dad for anything at any time. He was my strength, I thought. And after he died, we were done getting everything taken care of there at the house, and I was driving home, and I went, wait a minute. All these years, I thought he was my total strength. But I realized my Heavenly Father was showing through my father how much he loved me. And I didn't realize it until my dad was gone. That's when I really realized how much God truly, truly loves me, even more than my earthly father. Why couldn't you trust that?
Right. How old were you when your dad died?
Let's see, my dad's been gone how long? He died in 96.
Okay. So about 30 years almost.
He's such a good God.
Yeah, he is.
He's amazing.
Was your faith as strong when you first were diagnosed with cancer? Well, I'm sure it wasn't because
Yeah.
you've seen God in a whole new way,
Yeah.
you know. Would you say that you were, I don't want to say like a Christian, but what was your faith like before you were diagnosed?
Well, I was a, like you said, Christian. I don't really like the word Christian. It has some bad vibes to it with some people, you know. But when I was, okay, here we go.
Are we crying again?
No.
Okay.
When I was first diagnosed, I had sort of taken a sidetrack. And my life wasn't what I would brag about at this point.
Sure.
I had been divorced for about 2 years. And I had started dating Scott.
Oh,
And wasn't living the way things should be
that's
lived.
okay. That's okay. Right?
Yeah.
We've all done things, right?
We have.
That's okay.
And God forgives you for all of it.
Yep.
So I did believe. I mean, I grew up believing, and I had faith in God. Had not learned my trust yet, and my prayers at night were a lot of apologies.
Please forgive
God.
me.
I shouldn't have done that, but you know, that beer was really good. You know, or
was
that
a hot day.
margarita was awesome.
Yes.
You know, and so I had kind of sidetracked, and so it was kind of a wake-up call. And like I said, God doesn't give you any of this. He does allow things to happen to you. And sometimes I say, did you let this happen because I wasn't getting back on track? Which I doubt that. But, you know, who knows? I don't know.
But look what he's done with it.
He has done awesome things with it.
Would you say that your experience has changed your children's outlook on things, or how has it touched your family?
It has. My brother is getting closer to where he should be. His wife was raised Lutheran, and they both think that religion is a little bit too regimented. But I think that's because it's
it is
Lutheran.
in the Lutheran church. I was
Yeah.
raised Lutheran, and there's a lot of stand up, sit down. You say this, I say that. You know,
Yeah,
it was hard for me to like feel the presence of God. It was very
yeah, yeah. And
You know.
I think this is seeing some of this stuff that's been happening, you know, and I tell him all of it, and it's brought new light to him. And my kids, well, my one daughter's taken kind of a, I don't know, kind of a trip that I don't understand. But, you know, she started looking into crystals.
Oh, that's pretty popular anymore, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but it has made a difference in my grandkids' lives.
Oh, I'm sure.
And my great-grandkids are doing really good.
And you just don't even have any idea who else you've inspired. You know,
you never do.
and you won't. Just you showing up every Sunday and sitting in your same spot, you and Scott and Meech.
My buddy Meech.
It's just such a testimony, but I just love that I had the chance for you to give you the chance to share your story, because who knows that?
Yeah.
You know, who knows about when God
You can't
held your
imagine.
hand and
You can't imagine what he did during a abusive marriage. How he stepped in, and
yeah,
I mean that's a whole nother
episode.
episode during.
I would love to talk about that sometime too.
Yeah, it's my ex-husband got very heavy into drugs, very abusive, and God just gave me so much strength. I was trying to get my ex-husband to start going to church and trying to get him off of his drugs, and I always think I can fix everything. So instead of leaving, I figured, I can fix this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Well, anyway, so getting ready to go to church on a Sunday night, because I was going to a Assembly of God church. So you went to church Sunday morning and Sunday night, you know.
Okay.
I was getting ready to go to church Sunday night, and he decided he was going to leave. Wasn't going to church that night. And so I heard him pull out of the driveway, got down on my knees, and I said, God, I can't fix this without you. You know that. And if you get him back here, I'll find a way to get him to church. Mm-hmm. Now, I think in my mind I didn't figure this was going to work, but so while I'm praying this, the back door opens and he comes walking back in. And I went, God,
Okay.
What do I do now?
Get him to church. Figure out a way.
I looked at him and I said, what are you doing back here? He said, I don't know. I just turned the corner and here I am back. I said, oh, well, just get in the car and go to church. That's where I'm on my way to. And he went. I mean, sometimes you ask God for something, you better be ready.
Right.
I wasn't.
Pray in faith.
That's right.
Wow.
Because God will. He's there. He's there. You know, some of those kids at Hope City, I had in Sunday school at Prairie Lakes for the 3-year-old. Scott and I taught the 3-year-old Sunday school class at Prairie Lakes for 11 years. Oh. So some of those kids I have had since they were 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's amazing. You just watch them grow up. And
yeah.
They're still there, and I love it.
Well, what else do you want to talk about? What else have you seen God do, or are you just ready to wrap this up now and go home?
I don't care. I can talk for 40 hours.
I know, yeah. Care. Bob said we have 40 hours we can talk, so.
God just, he just shows up. I mean, I look at my great-grandson that was born so prematurely. He only weighed 2 pounds. Mm. What was it, 2 pounds and 14 ounces, 213, I don't know, 2 something.
Little boy, yeah.
Tiny little thing. And so they started listing off. It could end out developing cerebral palsy. There's going to be this learning disability, the possibility of all these things on premature children. And we had a whole church praying. There's nothing wrong with that child. Mm. He's a hyperactive little boy.
He might get that from you. You're kind of a feisty old dame.
It's true. But nothing.
Yeah.
He has none of the things that they said, well, you know, this is pretty likely, pretty possible. And
isn't he just so good? You know?
He's amazing.
I just look at your story and I just want to sit and hear about all the things. I'm sure you've just touched on things just so briefly, but when you get reports that, oh, the cancer is spread over here, what is your thought? I mean, do you just feel like, come on, man?
Usually I think, oh, I hope the chemo for this one isn't going to make me sick, because if it's going to make me sick, I won't do it. Because I've told my whole family this. I will continue to do the chemo and as long as I'm feeling fine. I can go places, do things, play with the kids. I feel fine. But as soon as I have to start being sick, then I will quit and we'll just let it run its course and go home.
Yeah. Wow.
And they all understand that. And after I had that flu, that influenza, that
Yeah.
stuff's terrible. And I have no immune system. So getting over it was really hard. And I was starting to think, because I was staying so weak, and I couldn't have chemo. My counts weren't good, and I thought, okay, God, this must be my sign that it's time to be done. And so then I got feeling good enough that I could start chemo again. And I was praying. I said, God, am I supposed to start chemo again? Or is this just my sign that it's time to be done? And I'm really bad sometimes at not hearing him talk to me. Sometimes I hear everything he says. And sometimes I hear nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's talking. I just don't hear it. So he has to slap me a little bit or something. And so here I've been praying this and praying this and praying this. And all of a sudden Taylor tells me that she's pregnant for baby number 4. And I went, oh, you've been trying to tell me to go back to my chemo. I need to be here a while.
Yeah.
So I went back to some more chemo and kept getting stronger from the flu, and I'm fine again.
Yeah.
So
You seem great.
I feel great.
Are you afraid of dying?
No. I'm sure when the time comes, there's going to be some fear because you're always kind of afraid of the unknown.
Right.
So I'm sure when the time comes, I'm going to have some apprehension. But as far as being afraid to die, I'm not. It doesn't bother me. It's almost a gift waiting to be opened. It's kind of what I think of it like. I think I'm going to get to really see him. Have a few questions for him.
Like what? Like what?
Well,
What the heck?
I want to know why I could not get my ex-husband off of drugs.
Well, there you go.
I mean, I think I fixed everything. And
Apparently not.
I did not fix it.
You're not as good as you think you are.
I'm not God, am I?
No. No, ma'am. Well, can I just say that you inspire me?
I
And
hope so.
you too. And I think when people hear this, they'll know your story. Because you're always known as Grandma Cindy. And
Grandma.
Q will reference you like you're a fighter, or you've been struggling for a long time. But I don't think people really know your story. And
That's true.
I thank you for making time to come
You're
over
welcome.
here and sit in my basement with me, and a box of Kleenex and a couple of headsets and a couple microphones.
I hope that somebody out there understands better now that it doesn't matter what's going on. Just trust God. You can believe in him. You can have faith in him, but step farther and trust him. Just give everything up. Just forget it. He doesn't care what you've done. He's there. Just total step into trust and don't worry about anything. You can't change it by worrying. You can change it by praying, maybe.
Yeah.
Not by worrying.
Right. And I think with cancer, it can be so burdensome.
Could be.
Just something that you just carry and just gets heavy. And I always think of taking that load and laying it at the foot of the cross.
Yep.
And the freedom and relief that you feel by not carrying something that you were never meant to carry in the first place.
That's right.
But I want to pray us out.
I would love it.
And I just want you to know what a difference you've made in my life just now.
Well, thank you.
Knowing your whole story, and thank you for hunting me down like a wild animal when I had my cancer. And I just didn't know what to think about you. I was like, easy girl.
I can be a bit relentless.
Yes. I agree.
Because I'm going to fix it.
Well, you just had so much to offer. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and pray.
Okay.
Oh, God, what a blessing it is to hear Cindy's
Thank you,
story.
Jesus.
And you God, you give us these trials because that's when we really see you face to face and we can feel you with us. God, thank you that you are somebody who loves us more than we ever can imagine. We don't deserve it.
Lord.
God, I pray for Cindy. I pray, God, that this cancer would just remain as is or go away. God, look what you've done. Beauty from ashes. That from a disease that's meant to kill us, you have sustained her for so long. The difference that she's making in so many people's lives turns them to you. Because that is her only credit that she gives. It's all to you, God. Father, I ask that you would bless her and Scott and keep her here for a long, long time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
That one, I feel like I got beat up.